This is by request. I had some people ask me, since I'm a music teacher and I have a PhD in music, to see if I could do some tips and tricks on music. So I'm going to give you right now the key to learning scales without learning scales. It's a very simple technique. It's very easy to learn. The first thing I'll tell you is a major scale is whole step, half step, whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step. Now, the reason why you want to know this, if you can see here on the piano, say I start out in C. The easiest way you can do this is C. If you go back 3 steps in the key that you're in, which is C, we'll say that's the C, right? Okay, that's your C scale. Now if you go back 3, you're now in minor, because it turns to an A minor scale. So you come back here, and now all of a sudden, see how that sounds? It automatically changes. And the reason why is because a major scale is whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Now if you switch it back, now like I say, if you can't remember, just do C and then go back 3 steps, and then you can figure this out. But if you go back 3 steps, you'll notice that it's whole step, half step, whole step, half step, like that. It basically changes. So basically, like I say, when you go here, you can see that there's a whole step and a half step, and then a whole step, half step, whole step. Okay, that's your scale. And the other thing that you'll notice here, and that it helps you figure out where you're at when you get onto another instrument, doesn't matter what instrument, using this technique will help you play any instrument. I play 19 instruments. So this is a B and C, and then on the piano you can see here, really close to you is also E and F. Alright? Those two are there, and there's only one note in between those notes, right? There's basically 3. So when you're playing a song on the guitar, you don't need to know scales. Basically how you can tell what the scale is that you're playing is if you're playing a song on the guitar and you drone a note. That's basically what you would have to do, like an E. Drone the note, and that tells you the E is the root note in that scale. But what you would do is on each note, on each scale that you would want to find, is you want to go, you can see, see, I already found that. So there's 2 of them right there. And how you can tell is it actually doesn't sound dissonant. The dissonance that you would find is like if you're playing a major scale and you want to do a minor third, that will give you, that's a dissonant. You'll hear that different dissonance, so that tells you you're hitting a minor note. So if you're playing in an E major and you hear, or even a diminished note, which is a 5th down 1 note, that's going to give you a diminished tone instead of, because it sounds happy. Major is happy, minor is sad, and then you got kind of a angry or a sadder tone, we'll say. like that, or you got augmented, you know. And I'll show you a close-up of this in a minute, to where I can teach you on piano how to play 48 chords and sit and practice the 48 chords, and that will help you on the guitar to find all your chords. And then to once you understand these things on guitar, it's very easy for you to translate those from piano to guitar, piano to saxophone, piano to bass, piano to cello, piano to whatever. Okay, so on these notes, all you're going to be doing is see, there's another one. So what we're doing is we found here and we found here, right? So what we're going to say, what you can say already, if that's where it's at, and we have this down here, we're showing this is a 12th fret, so this is an open note, and this is one note below the open note. So on this scale, since we're doing this and we have here, that means we're here and we're here, right? So we're here. See? So we have this. So when you're going up the fret, it's really easy by doing this to, doesn't matter what anybody's playing, as long as you know the root note that they're playing. If they start on a C, you can just do this. See, there it is right there. Again. See? So when you're going here, you're going. You know, basically all you're doing is on each note, no matter what note you're playing in, you're just looking for those two notes that are together. Now we can get further later in a lesson that I can do on how to figure that stuff out from where you are and what scale you're in. You know, if you're in a scale and that you might have to do minor notes and things like that. But for right now, this is just a basic concept, to where if somebody is playing an E, somebody's playing an E, it's very easy for you to find out on every note where those notes are at. And then you don't have to learn a scale, you just have to know where those notes are at. Because once you know where those two notes are at, everything else is kind of just filling it in. Because if you know this is here, then all you know is there's something there, and then you're back to, and then down here, the same thing. If you have this one, then all you have is this, something in between it, you know. And like I was saying, if you're playing a minor scale, no matter what, the easiest way to tell if you're listening to a song and you're trying to figure out if it's a major or minor, first go up the scale until you can find the root note. The ones that will be the most prevalent in most songs are going to be the root, the fourth, and the fifth. And the funny thing is, the root, the third, and the fifth are what's going to actually be the main notes in the first and the third and the fourth. Okay, so you're going to have, that's your chord. So what you're going to do is you're going to go. see if you can find one note, no matter what's being played, will be a note that resonates throughout the entire song, where you can just kind of, you can do that and continually play it over and over again. And that note will help you find what scale you're in. And this is what you do once you find out what scale you're in. You're going to want to know whether it's minor or major, right? Well, it's very easy to figure out whether it's minor or major, because we have whole step, half step, or we have whole step, half step, right? So say we're playing a C. Okay? We can hear it's kind of happy, but if we're listening to a song and we hear the song and we're trying to figure out, is it major or is it minor? It's very easy to find out because of the whole step, half step. Okay? So a major is going to be, that's major, right? Half step, whole step, half step, whole step is going to be, okay? So we have whole step, that's whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step. Okay? That tells you everything you need to know. So once you find out whatever key you're in, you need to know the whole step, half step, whole step thing, because that will tell you everything on the piano. No matter what instrument you're playing, wherever it's located in your octave range, you'll find it on the piano. It'll be unless you're playing a piccolo, which might be like way out here off the piano. Most things will be on the piano. So, you know, say anything, doesn't matter. I'll just pick a note. Okay? Whole step. Now obviously we're going to be playing a G sharp. This is what we'd be in right now. So we got whole step, whole step, whole step, and then half step, and then whole step, whole step, whole step. Okay? So there's our major. That's our major G major, right? Now let's do a G minor scale. Same thing. Whole step, half step. So we got, see, dun dun dun, like that. Whole step, half step, whole step, whole step. Okay, so we got okay, so that's our basic scale. And you can see how easy that is. It doesn't matter what scale you're trying to find, and that's all you have to do. If you can find it here, and then you find out where the notes are on the guitar, you can very easily figure this stuff out, you know. And then I'll show you a technique right now to play every chord there is. Every chord. Doesn't matter what it is. Okay, I'm going to show you a trick for playing every chord that's ever made. Now, in major scales, in major, minor, augmented, diminished, that's basically what we're going to be teaching you, what I'm going to teach you. Major, minor, augmented, diminished. You're going to be able to add a seventh, which is going to be in C. Hear that? You're adding the seventh. Now when you do that, there's one more inversion. An inversion is basically, if I take a C scale and I have, if I invert it, first inversion is this. That's first inversion. Okay? Second inversion is if I take this note and I do that. Okay? That's second inversion. Third inversion is going to get you back to root. So there is no third inversion. Unless you have a seventh, because that's going to get you this. See? That's your seventh note. And then your third inversion back to root would be here. Okay? So in this case, what we're going to be teaching is the first and the second inversion, but I won't actually teach you those because they're harder. They're much harder. I'm going to teach you the main, just major. This is the first 48 chords, and this is how you figure it out. Now keep in mind when we do this, once we get to the diminished note, we're going to go that way. We're going to always go that way, okay? We're going to be going lower. All right? So, we're going to start with C. We're going to always start on C because C is your starting point on the guitar, on the piano, okay? So first we're going to start with C major. C major, right? Okay? Then we have C minor. Okay? We're going to make the third minor. Now we got C minor. Okay? Now we're going to go back to C major. We're going to go C augmented. That's the fifth up one note. That's that. So that's going to give you C augmented. All right? Now we're going to go back to C major. We're going to go C minor and C diminished. That's going to take the fifth down. So C augmented, C diminished, right? Basically, you're just going here. And this will help you when you're trying to write songs or when you're trying to figure songs out. If you understand that the fifth in the chord is all that decides whether it's an augmented or a diminished note, then that's all you have to do. If you know what scale you're in and you know where that note is located at, in this case it is a G, so if you know you're playing a G flat or you're playing a G sharp or a G, then that's all you need to know. And then when you're playing the scale, all you need to know is where the G is at, and then you know whether you're playing the sharp or the one note above it or one note below it. It's very easy. So here we are with C minor, C augmented, C diminished. Then we're going to go down one note. Now keep in mind we always have to have different notes. So you can't say that this is a C and a C. You can't have like a C flat and a C sharp in the same chord, okay? So this is going to be C flat or B sharp is what you can call it. But this is going to give you a B major. That's a B major chord. And what you can do with this, what really is cool, is when you start to understand this stuff and you look at it, you can look at this chord, and this is a B major. You can find these notes on your guitar. And then you've got a B major chord. And you can find where they are all located at on your guitar. Find these notes, put them in different patterns, and you can find out that there's about 12 to 13 different chords, different ways to position these chords on your guitar. Because you're not only looking at it in this position, but you're looking at it in the other positions where you're changing it, where you're actually going and putting it into a augmented, diminished, positions, and also inverting them, so that when you're going, these things. So there's so many different ways you can do these chords. But once you understand the notes, it'll help you. So now we have, like I say, the B sharp major, or the B major, I should say. This would be B sharp. So B major or C flat is what we have right here. It's going to give you a B flat or a B and a C flat, right? So usually there's 3 different ways to do every note. So like this can be a double sharp, or it can be a C flat, or it can be a B, whatever. So yeah, so those are just, that's getting it more complicated than it needs to be right now. So I'm just trying to teach you this stuff. So this is going to give you a B major. Now we're going to go B augmented, which is, like I say, one note up. That's all we're doing, one note up. This is B augmented, B major augmented. Now we're going to go back to B major. Then we're going to go to B minor. Okay? B minor. B diminished. B diminished, right? Now we're going to go B flat major, A sharp major. I'll try to go like this so you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay? Then we're going to go B flat major augmented, A sharp major augmented. Okay? Back to major, then to minor. So we're going to go from to here, then we're going to go diminished. Okay? So that's going to give you B flat diminished, B flat major diminished, A sharp major diminished. All right? Then move it down one more. Now we've got A major. Okay? Then we got A major augmented. Okay? Then we got A major, A minor, A diminished. Okay? See how easy this is going? Then we go down one. Now we've got A flat, right? Or G sharp major, augmented, major, minor, diminished. Now we got G major, G augmented, G major, G minor, G diminished. Move it down one. G flat, F sharp major, F sharp major augmented, F sharp major, minor, diminished. Down one. Now we're in F major, F augmented, F major, F minor, F diminished. Then we're going to go down one. Now we're in E major, but it's also D double sharp and it's also F flat. All right? So just keep that in mind. There's always, when you're looking for these chords, there's a bunch of different names for each chord, but this is the notes. And why a lot of these chords may have 3 different names, a lot of times they have the same exact notes, okay? Even though they might be called different things depending on what scale you're in. So then we're going to go down one. Okay? Now we're in major, right? And remember how I told you about major? You can see, okay? Major, all you have to do to find out major is whole step, and then half step, right? Whole step, half step, and then right there. So that's going to get you your whole step, half step, right? So you got whole step, okay? That's your major. Now, if it's minor, like I was saying, it's going to be here, because you got a whole step, and then a half step. So that's how easy it is to find this stuff out. So we got a whole step, half step, and keep in mind that your first chord, your root chord, this is what we're figuring out, the root chords of each note. The root chord is always going to have the first, the third, and the fifth of the scale in it, okay? And when you're dealing with any scales, you need to know that the notes in the scale are how you figure out your circle of fifths. And all it means is the fifth note of the scale is where you start a new scale, and you're going to add sharps and flats from there. That's all that means. So here we go. We got one whole step, half step, whole step. Okay? And we're doing the third and the fifth, right? So this is the third and the fifth. So there's our notes right there. Okay? That's going to give you an E flat major or a D sharp major. Right? Then we're going to go augmented. Then we're going to go diminished, or major. Then we're going to go minor. Then we're going to go diminished. Then we're going to go down one more. Now we're in D major. Whole step, half step, full step. Okay? Then we're going to go augmented, D major augmented, or C double sharp, or E double flat. Right? So there's a bunch of different names for it. But so I'm saying it's very easy to figure this stuff out. Using this technique, you can find out all this stuff very simply. Okay? So there's augmented, back to major, minor, and then we got diminished. Now we're going to go to C sharp major. Okay, now we're in C sharp major. Hear how it always sounds happy? Okay, then we're going to go augmented, C major augmented, C sharp major augmented, D flat, B double sharp. Back to major, minor, diminished. Now we're back to C major, C augmented, C major, C minor, C diminished. That's 48 chords that I just taught you. Majors, minors, augmenteds, and diminished. Now what makes it hard is if you do C major and you start out here. Because now you have to realize this is your root, and it never changes, but this is your third, and this is your fifth. So if you're going to go C major, C augmented, see how it gets crazy? C augmented, C major, C minor, C diminished. We're going to go down one. See, now we're in B major. See how that works? B augmented. See, that's another 48 chords. Okay, then we can go, take those two, and go up here. Now you have to realize that this is your third, this is your fifth, and the root never changes. So we got C major, right? Then we got C augmented. Then we got C major, C minor, C diminished, B major. See, now we're in second inversion. Another 48 chords. Okay? So that's how easy it is. And once you understand these notes, what notes there are, what notes they are, it's very easy for you to pick up any instrument. Doesn't matter what instrument it is. Find out the scale, find out where it is on the piano, figure out a melody, and then find it on whatever instrument you're wanting to play on. Whether it's the sitar, the saxophone, the cello, the violin, the viola, the guitar, the bass, drums, whatever you want to find out, it's right here. It's all right here, you know. So that's the first lesson I'll teach you guys. If you want to know any more about this stuff, I can easily explain it to you, and I'll go into more depth. I'll probably do more videos on this stuff later, but yeah, it's I can make it very simple for you. There's a lot of pitfalls that guys get into where they actually decide they're going to learn every scale and every chord and get really technical. And what happens typically when that happens is there are some really amazing guitarists who can do that and do it quickly, and they go to college and they learn it very quickly, and they learn how to play guitar in like 10 years. But typically what typically happens is you'll have guys that will learn how to play, and they will learn how to play in a way where about 6 to 10 years it will take them to learn the scales and the chords. Then it will take them another 6 to 10 years to learn how to use those fluidly. And then after that, they kind of are able, and some never get to this point, but they're able to step away from the theory and just play and just use what they know, not think about it, and just intuitively play and sound amazing and not act like they know what they're doing, which is people like Steve Vai and Joe Satriani. They're just so amazing at guitar because they understand every note on the guitar. Yo-Yo Ma, people like that. They don't have to think about it. It's just intuitive. These techniques are ways to get you around getting into a pitfall of learning every scale and every chord and getting very annoying about it, because it's not really something you need to do. It's something that you can get a lot of shortcuts around it and get to the point where you can free solo on the guitar or the piano and play, not having to worry about what scale you're in. If you just know the whole steps and the half steps, you know the chords. You can find the chords on everything. That makes you able to write music, because you'll be able to sit down and you'll be able to say, okay, I want a second inversion of a certain chord, and you'll know it's a whole step, half step, whole step. I want the major, and then I'm going to make it a minor, so it's a whole step, half step, So you can very easily figure this stuff out. It becomes very simple, and you don't have to read music. You just have to understand the basic concepts, and then you can sit down and use a software like Pro Tools, and you can actually write music and know the key and know the chords in the scale. It's very simple. I'll teach you about the scales later and how you work the chords in that scale. And I'll also teach you something that's very hard for a lot of people to understand. That's the circle of fifths. Okay? So that'll be in another lesson. I don't want this one to go on too long, but this is a basic understanding of theory and chord progression for beginners, so that you can understand how to get yourself around on an instrument and not get stuck in learning these little box patterns of scales, which will actually hinder your progress, and in a lot of cases stunt the people's growth, and some people never get past it. Some people can never get past learning the notes on the guitar and the scales, and that's as far as they get. They don't ever get past that their entire life. Some of them play for 60 years, and all they know is a few chords and a couple basic patterns, scale patterns, and they never learn anything past that because they can't get past it sounds a lot bigger. If you realize there's when you get into jazz, there's 100,000 scales in jazz, okay? So it gets really complicated. But when you understand that you're only in some jazz scales and in majors and minors, there's natural minor, there's harmonic minor, there's relative minor. When you understand you're only minoring the 6th and minoring the 7th, or raising the 7th or lowering the 7th, and when you start understanding these things, it becomes very easy for you to play these scales and not think about it as much. When you understand where you're at in the scale, it's very easy for you to figure this stuff out. So, if you guys like this and you want me to do more music videos on teaching you guys how to play stuff, I can. And yeah, share, like, and subscribe. If you got any questions, comments, whatever, leave it in the section below. And as I said before, this is a requested video, so to the people who requested it, here you go. Have a nice day.